All right, so good morning. Hello to all our viewers on today's webcast. My name is Anthony Vanderwert, and on behalf of Actifio, I want to welcome you and say thank you for joining this month's Tech Update. So today, what we're going to be doing is discussing what's new in 8.0, and leading our discussion will be Brylan Achilles, who is our Global Field CTO at Actifio. Before we get started, I want to remind you that you are free to ask questions throughout the presentation. We will answer these at the end. To ask a question, all you need to do is type it into the question box below, and we will get to as many of those questions as we can. We could also answer any unanswered questions using an email after the webcast. We're also taking a poll, which you can find in the GoToWebinar GUI. Hopefully you should have seen that poll pop up. Let us know what other content you would like to see presented. And with that, I'm now going to turn it over to Brylan Achilles.
Thank you, Anthony. Thanks everyone for joining. As Anthony mentioned, the topic for today's webinar is going to be what's new with Actifio Global Manager in version 8.0 of our software. We'll spend the first few minutes talking at a high level about what's new with Actifio Global Manager, and then we'll spend the remainder of the time drilling down on one of the new features, which is the file catalog feature that we introduced in version 8.0. So what you're seeing on your screen right now is Actifio Global Manager. For those unfamiliar with AGM, which is how we abbreviate it, Actifio Global Manager allows us to manage multiple Actifio systems, whether they're virtual appliances or physical appliances, whether they're on-prem or in a public cloud, all from a single pane of glass. And if I click up here at the top, you can see that we've actually got 5 of those systems being managed with this instance of Actifio Global Manager that we're showing today. And the benefit for the customer, of course, is to be able to provide management of distributed environments all from a central location, and simply provide SLAs and resources to manage workloads wherever they might be in the enterprise. And so the screen that we're looking at today is the SLA architect. This is where you define what your service level agreement is on how you want to manage the data, right? How frequently do we capture changes? Do we store data for a short period of time? Do we store data for a long period of time? Do we leverage object storage, deduplication as a part of that? And of course, once we've done the service level agreement definition, we jump to the application manager, which is where we can apply the SLA. And it's also where you can go to access the data, to perform those instant mounts, to access data for backup and recovery or test data management or whatever the use case might be. And so what's new in 8.0 as it pertains to Actifio Global Manager are a couple of things. One, we've done a significant overhaul of the user experience as it pertains to performance. If you've used previous versions of Actifio Global Manager, this one is a lot faster as far as response times and just the way they've written the user interface code. Lots of improvements and enhancements have come since the 7.x release of Actifio Global Manager. We're also starting to put some of the newer features that come out with the broader Actifio platform are being put directly into AGM going forward. The broader position for the company is we are moving away from the Adobe Air-based element manager called Actifio Desktop, and we are moving towards this HTML5 web-based Actifio Global Manager. And so you're starting to see some of the new features that we'll be discussing today and in future webinars are features that are native here just in the Actifio Global Manager interface. So with that said, let's talk at a high level of what those features are, and then like I said, we'll spend the bulk of the time showing in detail the file catalog feature. Some of the new features in 8.0 and that are in Actifio Global Manager are system state or system state or cloud mobility, as we call it, the ability to capture the details of the running operating system for Windows and Linux environments and make those available in different locations. For example, we can take a physical server running Windows and recover it into a VMware environment, including the system state, the registry settings, and all the parameters of the operating system, not just the data, which we've always been able to do, but now the operating system itself, and perform that conversion from a physical server to a VMware virtual machine. We also offer that same capability in Amazon AWS, from VMware to AWS, from physical to AWS, and from AWS back to VMware. So that system state feature, or cloud mobility, is what we refer to it as, is new in version 8.0. We've also added incremental forever support for object storage, which is what we call OnVault, which you can see on the screen right here. These blue images in Application Manager are object storage images that we are now able to update incrementally forever. That same native format data management that Actifio provides has been extended to on-premise and public cloud object storage, which provides a phenomenally scalable and cost-effective way to do long-term data retention, or simply get data offsite or into another entity very, very efficiently. Incrementally forever, using simple compression, but still storing that data in a native format and making it usable, whether that's on-prem or in a public cloud. So we'll spend some time on these other new features in subsequent webinars. What we want to spend our time on today is talking about this new feature, which is catalog, is what we call it. And catalog is the ability to index the images that Actifio manages from Windows environments. We're able to look at the files inside that image, whether it was in a virtual machine or whether it was in a physical server, and provide a search interface for users and administrators to find individual files that they're looking for, and make that recovery that much faster and that much more streamlined for the user. So this is a feature, as I mentioned, that's only available in AGM in version 8.0. And if I click on catalog, I have a very simple search interface. I always like to start by kind of a real world scenario. Whoops. We can look and search across all data sets if we like, but I always like to point it at the server, because that's usually what customers do. So if I'm looking for a file on this file server, I can simply do type in the name of the file that I'm looking for, or I can use a wildcard, show me all PDF files that Actifio is managing from the images for that server. And it's going to provide a list of results that you can scroll through very simply and very easily, find what you're looking for. So let's say, for example, I'm looking for, here's a file, if I can remember the name here, vmtools.dll. Maybe I know the file that I want to recover. You can see I've got 4 different instances of that DLL file on this particular server. And what's really interesting about the catalog is, of course, the ability to find what you're looking for, but you can see it shows you where are those images, or where is that file in all the different images that Actifio is managing. We've got snapshots for short-term recovery. We've got our dedupe engine for medium to long-term, and we've even got object storage where we've archived these images for long-term archival purposes for the most cost-effective long-term retention. And once you select the file that you're interested in, it's going to show you exactly all the timestamps that we have from all the Actifio capture jobs that have been running over time, and where that data is being stored. So if you can see, for example, the most recent one is from a few days ago. It's in our dedupe pool and our object storage. If I want to go back, back in time to January, I can retrieve that file, directly from the object storage itself. And so what happens is, as you locate the files, the files or images that you're looking for, you build a recovery cart. So let me just go back to a different search here, and we will put another file in here. So let me say I want to find all the PDF files on that server. We can grab this one and maybe this one, and I can continue to build this list of the things I want to recover, put them into my recovery cart. And once I select that recovery cart, it's going to ask me, what is it exactly specifically that you want to recover? Where do you want to put these files? Do you want to put these back to the original host, right, and push that data back to the server where those files originated from? We can do that. Do you want to recover those files to an alternate host? It knows of all the the hosts that the Actifio system is capable of connecting with. We can recover the files to an alternate location. Do you want to put it back in the same path, or would you like to put it into a separate folder, so maybe a user can see the the 2 or 3 or files or folders or directories that we've recovered, and manually put them back or do something else with it? What would we like to do in the event that there's a conflict with an existing file? Do we want to overwrite it, or would we like to name it with a suffix so that we can make sure that we don't overwrite any files that exist, as well as some metadata tagging that we're able to do. And what's really great about this this catalog feature is it's not only the ability to find the information as we just kind of walk through, it's also the ability to really just automate that complete recovery process. The traditional Actifio approach has been to use incremental forever capture with API integration to capture entire data sets incrementally forever, entire databases, entire VMs, entire file systems, which obviously has tremendous benefits. When it comes time to recover, we would present the entire data set back, and you can just simply access the data in place, retrieve what you need, copy paste to recover individual files, etc. So it's obviously a very scalable and a great solution for customers. What the catalog feature adds to that and builds on top of that is the ability to know which image you want to access, for the specific file that you're looking for. So it obviously provides that catalog functionality, but it also automates the entire file level recovery process. You no longer have to log into the server to be able to retrieve a file and move it from the D drive over to the C drive. All that entire process, that you see on this recovery card screen here is automated and driven, from the Actifio solution, in a very automated fashion. So if we went through this and if I, put these files back where they came from, what would happen is Actifio would mount the image or images that contain the files to that target host. The connector, the Actifio connector, would then retrieve the files from that mounted image, put them where you want them to go, rename them if necessary, put them in a new folder, whatever was specified here on these option screens. Once that's complete, it would then unmount those images and put everything back exactly how it was before. So it's not just a feature that provides search and visibility into where the files are. It provides that completely automated file recovery process. A backup administrator or anyone who's recovering a file using this catalog feature is no longer required to log into the production server to copy from the D and paste onto the C, so to speak. All of that functionality is driven directly through this user interface. You click the button, and in a few minutes later, the files that you specified are back where they're supposed to be with whatever the options and parameters are that you defined on the screen. So it's a very, very powerful feature for end users, especially for that data protection and backup and recovery use case that we provide in AGM 8.0 with the catalog functionality. This is a base function of the product that's included with the Actifio license, and it's just a matter of updating to Actifio 8.0 from a platform perspective and AGM 8.0 from a management perspective to be able to use this catalog feature. So that's what we wanted to cover off today as far as a demonstration goes. At this point, Anthony, I'll toss the ball back over to you, and we can see if there's any questions from the attendees that we'd like to answer or cover in more detail.
Thanks, Brian. That was absolutely great. What we have shown here today is just one of the new features and functions in Actifio 8.0. As Brian touched on, it's not just file catalog. We have system state recovery. We also have a phenomenal feature for Oracle called ASM switch and rebalance, which is pretty unique in the marketplace. And we have our full object storage integration, where we can literally incrementally move images into pretty well any vendor's object storage, or what you call blob storage, whether that's Azure, whether that's Amazon, whether that's the Google Cloud, whether it's IBM CleverSafe, or even an S3 compatible object storage. And we will be covering all of those in later webinars. So we absolutely are going to cover all of those different features in addition to what we've just talked about today, which was our ability to do catalog. I don't currently see any questions. I know there's quite a few of you out there. So yeah, our goal here is to not go for an hour. Even if you signed up for an hour, we're hoping for an hour. We honestly think that your time is important. We want to be short and sharp and just cover the really important stuff. So what we will be doing is just basically choosing a particular feature, hammering on that feature for 10 to 15 minutes, taking some questions, and then giving you the rest of your day back. So if you have any questions in relation to what you've just seen or any of the features I've talked about, please plug them in. As I said, we do have a poll that you'll be able to go to, which will let you, I think that poll will appear again when Brylan stops sharing his screen. That poll will let you select what you might want to see in a future update.
We do have one question from the audience, which is, how does this functionality compare with other backup utilities already on the market?
So, the simple reality is that there were a lot of vendors out there that had the ability to do catalog and recover from a catalog. They didn't necessarily make it as easy to use, and the most common one we tended to get was Commvault. Commvault have a catalog. Ironically, what we discovered is a lot of customers weren't necessarily using it, but it was something that certainly we felt that we needed to offer a comparable solution with. So, how does our function compare? There's a couple of things. The first is that we make it exceedingly easy to enable catalog. So you simply select which VMs you want to have cataloged, and Actifio will do all the rest. We'll push the agent into the VM. We'll grab the we'll scroll through it very, very, very quickly. In fact, our testing has indicated that we probably have the fastest catalog solution in the marketplace today. And then we have an exceedingly fast catalog that you can search. So we'll say it's certainly comparable with any vendor solution out there. There's certainly most vendors offer catalog, but ours is exceedingly fast.
Yeah, and this is Brylan. Just to add to that, the additional differentiation is that everything Actifio does is incremental forever. So the core platform that we've had in the market, for now over 7 years with a generally available product, has always been, from day one, incremental forever, capturing data incrementally forever, storing it in native format, and making it available as a service, data as a service for multiple use cases, backup and recovery certainly being a very, very significant one. So the catalog feature, as Anthony said, is differentiated in that it's extremely fast and extremely easy to use, but it still further differentiates the Actifio solution in that we're able to do all of this incrementally forever. We don't have to do full backups every Saturday where we move the entire data center, back and forth because of the compromised recovery architecture of traditional approaches. Everything we do is incremental forever, very, very scalable, and we're just simply adding a catalog feature on top of that to make it that much more, usable for our customers.
Okay, thanks. We've got another question here with regards to how does someone enable the catalog feature? Is it done for all machines automatically, or can you be proactive and select just the few machines you want? And as an addition to that question, what software do I need to install to allow that catalog feature to start working on my machines?
So the short answer is we absolutely can choose which VMs get cataloged or which servers get cataloged. That's done in the domain manager. You simply there's simply a tick box that enables it. If the connector is not installed already, this is the Actifio connector, which is our lightweight agent that we push out onto servers. We will push it out onto that server for you. We just need some credentials to be able to do so. But it's up to you whether you want to catalog your entire fleet or just catalog 5 VMs that are really important to you. You can totally choose which ones get cataloged, and the deployment is almost hands-free. Just a tick box, type in some credentials if needed, and away we go. But if you've already installed the connector, then you don't need to do anything.
Okay, so we also have another question here. Can we pick multiple recovery points or recovery times for the same file? So let's say the example would be, I know I want to restore file.doc, but there's 3 different versions and I want to provide all 3 to the end user.
So I believe the answer to that question is yes. Brian, have you tried that one out? I'm fairly certain we can do that.
Yeah, I haven't tried it, but the answer is absolutely yes. It's just simply a matter of adding the files that you're looking for to the recovery cart. The recovery cart is simply a list of which images have which files in it, and nothing really happens until you run that job. And so if you had multiple versions of the same file from different images, it would simply mount multiple images as a part of that job and copy the 3 versions of the same file that you're looking for into that recovery folder. So yes, absolutely.
We did get another question about SQL Server restore from a consistency group. It's not really a catalog question. The ability to restore an individual database from a consistency group does come in 8.0. There's a whole bunch of new functionality we've got that covers SQL Server restore, and we'll cover that in a future webinar.
Okay, great. Now, just one other question with regards to the catalog we've got here is from an existing customer that's familiar with products like Commvault, where he's lost access to the catalog database and it's caused a complete disaster for file-based recoveries. He just wanted to know, how do we protect our catalog database from corruptions and growth, those types of things, and is that a resilient architecture that we have in place for it?
So the way we protect the catalog database is the same way that we always protect our internal database. We have our own internal checkpointing that we do for the catalog. The reality is that once you have started to use catalog, the AGM server itself is managing that database, and what we would recommend is that you protect the AGM server the same way that you would protect any other virtual machine. In fact, we can literally ingest AGM into Actifio Sky and protect it that way. So we do have a variety of methods that we can use to protect the database, but the simplest one is simply to protect AGM itself.
Yeah, that's spot on, Anthony. That is absolutely the best practice. The catalog lives as a part of our global manager virtual machine. And so we would simply apply the Actifio SLA to that virtual machine, just like other virtual machines we're managing in the environment. And then we would have snapshots, dedupe replicas, object storage, underlying hardware, phone home and RAID, just like we do with every other aspect of the solution, which would also apply to protecting that catalog.
Okay, so I think we've worked through all of the questions that we had there, and we are approaching the end of the time that we intended to run to. So I think this concludes our webcast. There will be a recording of today's webcast available and sent out upon request, and you can always send additional questions or requests to events@actifio.com. Again, we would like to thank you for joining this webinar, and we hope you have a good day. And just one final reminder before you sign off, please, there is a poll that will let you have a bit of a say in what we do next. So please hit that poll and give us some indication of what you would like to see in a future webinar. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us for another YouTube Tech Tip video. If you like the content you're seeing on this channel, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you will be alerted to any future content.